Olsen for the point. Back to better through the block and down. He'll go. Active pass. He'll look to fire deep and intercepted. Stretchy diving. He's in.
Olsen Telephone Company and R&J Broadcasting Incorporated is proud to present to you this broadcast on yourliveevent.com.
Welcome to the North Dakota Football Playoff Preview Show, brought to you in part by Halstead Telephone Company, your live event, and R&J Broadcasting Inc. as well. I'm Chase Miller alongside with Derek Zimmerman-Guyer and alongside Jake Birkemeyer. And we have 16 games this weekend across the state for the playoffs. We won't get to every matchup, but we're going to get to a couple that intrigue us, particularly on the eastern part of the state of North Dakota. We've already had one division, 8 teams are out. They're in the second round. That's 9-man playoffs. And as we get ready for what's coming up this weekend, it should be called the rematch weekend. Every game outside Lemoore, Litchfield, Marion, and Mayport CG is a rematch from what happened earlier this season. So a 2.0 version. Even though the Lobos and Patriots didn't play this year, they were region opponents in 2019 and 2020. Let's talk with Derek right off the bat. Derek, you've seen a lot of 9-man football. The number 1 overall seed, Lemoore, Litchfield, Marion, they've outscored their opposition 463-12. I can't believe I'm saying that, guys, with 7 shutouts in 8 games this year for the Lobos. Derek, with the talent that the Lobos have, even though you have New Salem, Almont, Divide County, Botno, who's undefeated, a lot of really quality teams, are the Lobos the favorite to try to find their way to the Dakota Bowl this year, Derek?
I believe it's safe to say the Lobos are legit. Their lineage, their legacy, all legit. The entire season, only 2 touchdown scores against them the entire season. And coincidentally enough, it was against Wyoming Lisbon. The Warbirds put up 2 scores way back when in the middle half of the season. And just looking at the stats, they're ridiculous. They give up basically 2 points per game and put up 58 on the board. And overall for the Lobos, they're just a complete team. Brady Potts, an absolute pinpoint passer. In the backfield, you got Brady Letmeyer, and through the air, Colton Ness along with Carter Bowman. And they don't have to go to those guys that much because one kid can take over. But when you got 3 different areas on the offense that can just light up the scoreboard, the Lobos, as I said, are legit, and they are, of course, the number 1 odds-on favorite to win.
Derek, you called the Weimar Lidgerwood 8-point win over Findlay Sharon Hope Page on your live event last weekend in the opening round. Now, as we mentioned, every game outside the Lobos and Mayport CG is a rematch where the Warbirds came up 8 points shy of the Tornadoes in Weimar on August the 27th in the regular season. What impressed you most about the Warbirds last weekend, Derek?
The Warbirds' ability to adapt and attack, I would say, on offense. Their defense was pretty sturdy against Findlay Sharon Page. They have a very crisp running game, the Spartans do, with Zara Carlson and Blake Jacobson. They both had near 100 yards and 200 overall between the two. But passing-wise, the Warbirds shut them down, had a pick, and also had a forced fumble as well from Cody Reamer. For the Warbirds on offense, like I said, they had to adapt because Andrew Arth, their star running back, near 700 rushing yards on the season, tore his ACL a few weeks ago. And then their backup running back and also star receiver, Johnny Gutzmer, breaks his leg on the game-winning touchdown versus Hankinson in the regular season finale. So they're down to a few backup players, and they're running this formation called the Warthog, where they take their guard, Tate Jurdy, and they put him behind the line, and they just run it full steam ahead, or they put him under center and run quarterback sneaks. Cavalier will have to prepare for that, and we'll see if the Warbirds adapt any more in their playbook.
I'll have to ask if Jake knows what a warthog is or a little bit later on in terms of that formation. But
I've seen Lion King. I know.
I like that. I like that. Maybe we get a Puma formation coming up here later this weekend. But we'll see how the rematch goes on Saturday at 2:30 in Cavalier. But before we get to 11B playoffs, let's hear from Tornadoes head coach Mitch Greenwood. But a one-on-one conversation earlier in the week with our man Derek.
Joined by the head honcho of Cavalier in his first year, Mitch Greenwood. Coach, how you doing this morning?
Doing great. A little chilly, but there's no snow on the ground yet, so the weather's all right.
Well, that means perfect football weather, right?
Absolutely.
Well, Coach, you got to spend a week off as the number 3 seed in 9-man North Dakota. What'd you guys do in that time off?
Well, in the week off, leading up to our bye week, we didn't know who we were going to play, so we couldn't really start preparing one way or the other. So we really took a week and just focused on ourselves. We watched some film of our last game that we had played. went over some things we need to do better and improve on. And then at practice over that last week, we just, we did a lot of individual fundamental drills, worked on tackling, worked on just, the fundamentals and making ourselves better. It was kind of nice to not have to prepare for anybody yet and just really focus on the Cavalier Tornadoes. But now this week, got a game Saturday. So coming into this week, we just started a week as a normal game week. And we didn't practice on Monday. We had a film session. We watched some film on our upcoming opponent, Lisbon. And then we went into practice yesterday. So we have a normal 4-day practice week like we would any other week.
Now, how does an 8-0 team who hasn't lost since the state championship a year ago really get better? You talk about fundamentals, but are there any specifics to it?
Well, we can always get better mentally. I guess one of the biggest disappointments I've had this year is we seem to have a lot of penalties. So just doing things mentally tough and, making sure that we got the snap counts right and assignments and going to the right spots on the field, that kind of thing. But, and then, we can always get better at fundamentals. We've got a good group of our first team offense and defense, but we've got some talented kids sitting in the wings waiting to get some playing time and some, young kids as well that they're the future of our program. So we have to build them up as well. And, even if our first group is really solid right now, we've got lots of kids on the team that can always get better, and including the first group too.
Lots of stars to work with, like Bryson Clem, Landon Carter, and having that talent in your first year as head coach, how does that help you make a playoff push in your first year playing and coaching at your alma mater?
Well, it's been a nice thing to have in the back pocket. We've got sometimes we joke about that. There's not enough footballs to go around, and that was something we actually worked on in practice yesterday. We kind of rotated some guys at some different positions, so we can try to get the ball into some of our playmakers' hands in some different ways, maybe differently than what we have been so far this year.
Now on offense, Lisbon out with a few key playmakers. Andrew Arp out with a torn ACL for a few weeks now, and Johnny Gutzmer a broken leg 2 weeks ago versus Hankinson. They have Tyler Brandt, sophomore quarterback, who was pretty good versus Finley Page in the read option game. He had 113 yards and 2 touchdowns late in that game. Now, how do you bottle up Brandt, and who else do you have to worry about for the Warbirds?
Yeah, well, we played them in week 2, and Brandt had a nice game there. I think he was their second leading rusher against us. And he had 2 touchdowns on the ground against us in week 2. So he was somebody that we knew coming into this matchup is that we're going to have to keep an eye on. They've got a senior, Tate Jurdy. He's a solid player. And from the looks of things, he plays all over the field. I think he's taken snaps at guard, tailback. I think he even got under center a few times last week and did some quarterback sneaks on short yardage. So we're going to key on him and we got to make sure we know where he is at all times. And then, Brandt he's a good running quarterback, and he's not afraid to drop back and throw the ball either. So our secondary has to make sure that they're awake at all times. And we're definitely going to key on the run, but we got to make sure that we don't fall asleep and get burnt on a deep pass as well.
Did Finley Page do anything offensively or defensively that stood out to you, and that you can kind of copy and paste or replicate in some way against the Warbirds?
I think we have a lot different style of football between Finley Page and us, but we saw some things that we thought, might be some weaknesses we might be able to exploit. I think more so it was just having the advantage of we've played these guys once, so we kind of know what to expect. And we know what we had success with the first time and where we were struggling. I'm sure that they're a well-coached team, so they're going to go back and watch that game as well, and they'll make adjustments to try to take away some of the things that we did. But I think we'll have a good game plan in place, and we'll be ready to go.
Coach, any final thoughts and keys for Saturday's matchup?
The weather's supposed to be nice. I just hope we have a good football game and everybody stays healthy. And at the end of the day, it's a great time to be playing football at this time of the year. There's a lot of teams that aren't right now, and so everybody that gets to suit up on Saturday afternoon is fortunate to be there.
Well, Coach, best of luck to you.
Thank you.
Thanks for taking the time.
Cavalier in search of their first state championship since 2014. The Tornadoes finished runner-up the past 2 years. Good conversation there with Mitch and Derek. Also, there will be a new champ in 9B, Lytton HMB, who defeated Lemoore Litchfield-Marion last year in the semifinals. They eventually were the state champs over Cavalier. They jumped up to 11B. So let's segue into that division. It's the opening round of the 11B playoffs, where Beulah lost to Bowman County to close out the regular season, and Bishop Bryan jumped into the top 4 seeds. So Hillsboro, Central Valley, the Burros, the number 1. Their lone loss comes to Central Cass. The number 2 seed Kindred, their lone loss, ironically, comes to Hillsboro, Central Valley, the Burros. Number 3 seed Bowman County, they lost to Shiloh earlier in the year. And the 4 seed Bishop Bryan, the Lions, lost to Dickinson Trinity to begin the season, and they've rattled off 8 straight games. We'll go into the Northeast, and Jake will bring you into the conversation now. You covered the Burros throughout the year in a very tough Northeast region where you had Langdon, Area, and Moore Munich. Harvey, Wells County, and Thompson all make the playoffs with the Burros. How good and dangerous can these 4 teams from the Northeast be?
I think anyone in the entire 11B bracket can be dangerous. I mean, you look at it as an extremely competitive bracket where we were expecting to see some good games. Just looking in that Northeast part of the bracket that you brought up there with those 4, and teams that they're fairly similar in that they're gonna get the ball running and everything, but they get the offense, they get the defense going, and they're tough to stop.
The one thing I will say is the biggest thing that comes down to 11B was Langdon, Area, and Moore Munich, probably a little bit when it came to the winning streak, right? And you kind of go through there. Langdon, they fall up short to Hillsboro, Central Valley. That 40-plus game winning streak comes a little bit to an end. For Coach Krvachka and HCB, a lot of people, Jake, will remember a couple of years ago, that particular title game that went into the former 1A playoffs, and then Hillsboro, Central Valley goes up. And Langdon, alongside with where they were at, now they're back together again in the same division. Is Langdon, Area, and Moore Munich? Is Harvey, is Thompson? Who might be the darling out of Harvey, Wells County, Langdon, and Thompson? Or is Langdon even a darling because they've been the king on the block for so long?
Well, first of all, going back to the title game, both title games decided by a couple points, coming down to a 2-point conversion to decide the game. Fantastic title games, but those guys are got. Well, there's a couple for Langdon that are still around off that team, but yeah, looking at the darlings. Yeah, I don't know if Langdon qualifies as a darling because of the run and success they had. Yes, a lot of the guys that were part of that run have graduated over the last couple of years, but still a lot of guys that have played a lot of football that are very good football players and athletes as well too, and certainly very well coached there with Coach Krvachka as well. My dark horse favorite would be Harvey, Wells County. Seeing them in the regular season and some of the things they're able to do. Also, their quarterback, Freeze, very good, extends plays well, has a great arm, can throw it down. And with some of the skill position players that they have, with his ability behind center or in that shotgun formation, they can certainly do some things, and they play good defense too. It's not like they're a one-dimensional on either side of the ball.
Now let's hear from the number 1 seed in HCV, having to go through that tough Northeast region. That's head coach Scott Olsen. Had a chance earlier in the week to sit down with our own Jake and talk about the Burros' ride to the number 1 seed in the 11B playoffs.
Class 11B preview with the number 1 overall seed head coach Scott Olsen for Hillsboro Central Valley as they take on Lisbon this Saturday with the first round game. Scott, thanks for joining us. Congratulations on being the top seed for this team. What does it mean to pick up that region championship and the number 1 overall seed going into this tournament?
Yeah, being a region champ was part of our initial goals throughout the year, and and being then that being the number 1 seed in the state gets us 3 home playoff games if we keep winning. So that's a big plus, and that's something that we've had a lot of home playoff games the last 4 years. So it's nice to be in front of our crowd.
The success that the program has had over the last handful of years, I think it's 5 straight region champs now for you guys. And being able to be at home versus going on the road in the playoffs, the community support, everything that's coming out there. How do the guys feed off that come playoff time?
Yeah, no, it's nice to have a loud crowd, and we travel well. We had a bunch of people at Thompson's last week, and but when you get the casual fan that can come to your game on a Saturday afternoon during playoffs, it helps being loud.
Look at the season as a whole, and what can you tell us about the growth that this team has made from day one of preseason practice till right now?
Yeah, going into the first week or first game, we thought we'd be pretty good, and then Central Cass came in and handed it to us, and then we figured out we had work to do, and I'm proud of the kids and how they responded, and they accepted that, and we got better each week. Our defense has really gotten a lot better in the last the last half of the month, half of the season, and the guys that were new for getting extended playing time are excelling now, and we don't have many young guys. It's all usually juniors and seniors that are playing. So we expect a lot out of them, and they've responded.
You mentioned that first game, Central Cass, dropping that one. And the guys coming in knowing that they were expecting to have a good year. Did that change the mindset, the mentality of how they approach things after that loss?
I think it just got us focused in practice a little more, that we had things to improve on and things to get better at. And, sometimes a loss can be good. And so far we've proven that we, haven't lost since then. And we've been in a lot of tight games with Kindred and Harvey, right after that loss, and we responded, and we just keep getting better each week.
For me, looking at things, big number that stands out, you can talk about yards per rush or plays or anything. The biggest number is 22, and that's the number of seniors that you have on the roster. To have that much experience, or guys that, even for guys that, because of the numbers, don't get into a lot of playing time some weeks, but they're still out there supporting their friends, their teammates there. What's that mean for this team?
Yeah, for the seniors that don't play, they do a really good job on the sideline of helping the younger guys learn how to encourage us, when to be loud, when not to be loud, and when to be excited. And so we need all those seniors that help our program. And, 4 years in our program isn't easy, and we have high expectations at everybody. And so even though the kids aren't playing as seniors, they're still a big part of the team.
What have they said here in the last couple of days since that Thompson game about them being the number one, or them facing Lisbon or playoffs, or what's the team saying right now?
I think we're just laser focused on Lisbon right now. We know they're not the usual 4 seed that you sometimes play in the playoffs. They're big and nasty, and we're going to have to play a really good game to beat these guys. And we have to be attention to detail the last couple of days in our video sessions, and which we've done a really good job of the last few weeks, is our attention to detail and film, and then going on and executing our game plan.
Yeah, you look at that 11B bracket, and even as a top seed, it's not a friendly road. The whole bracket is really tough.
Yeah, I think the eastern side of the state has some really good teams, and no different than Lisbon. I think Kindred's going to say the same thing about Thompson. It's not going to be an easy game, and some exciting games to go, but it's the playoffs, and you want to play your best ball, and I think we're doing that.
All right. Well, hey, best of luck to you and the Burros come Saturday. Scott Olsen, head coach for Hillsboro Central Valley. They will host Lisbon on Saturday, first round of the 11B playoffs. Scott, thanks again for joining us here, and good luck. We'll see you on Saturday.
Sounds good, Jake. Thanks.
That's that one-on-one conversation with head coach Scott Olsen alongside our man Jake, and we bring Jake back in the fold here now. The Lisbon Broncos, a team that started this season off, without a blemish on their record before they finally played against Central Cass and had to go up against Oaks and Sargent County and Kindred. They kind of had murderer's row at the end of their region schedule than what they had to start. Hunter Schultz and Jordan Sowers last couple of years, that was option A and option B. The Broncos came up short in the championship last year against Langdon. They graduate. You bring in Bowden Greedley and Mr. Sweet in the backfield, and those are kind of the 1-2 guys of Schultz and Sowers of prior years. For the Lisbon Broncos, Jake, coming into this game against Hillsboro, what do they have to do to try to have to pull the upset? Because both teams like to own the line of scrimmage and try to limit, that ground and pound game a little bit defensively.
You kind of hit the nail on the head there with owning the line of scrimmage. You look at the two teams and offensively somewhat similar in how they both are heavy run the ball, have had struggles throughout the year with getting the pass going consistently, but some misdirection on the run as well with whether you want to call them quarterbacks or running backs, the two guys in the backfield for the Broncos taking the direct snap and then going with the play off that. Whereas you got the option with Hillsboro Central Valley. Both teams offensively are going to be doing different things. And it comes down to the defense, I think. Lisbon, they got some big guys up front, and it's hard to move big guys around for 48 minutes. But the Burrows defense, they've been playing really stout the last second half of the season. I think after week 2 against Kindred, facing the Vikings and Central Cass in week 1, they're averaging like giving up 6 yards a rush or something like that. It's down to under 2. There's been weeks where there was 1 week where they allowed negative yardage. So if they can control the run game like that, I think a big thing that Lisbon has to do is see how they can diversify, whether that's going deep in the playbook or pulling out the pass or something there. The other side of that too that comes to mind is Burrows have 18 picks on defense this year. They're not easy to throw the ball against.
The one thing I was saying, we can probably say this about any matchup that's coming up this weekend, but I think against HCV, don't be behind the chains and also on the scoreboard. You get down a score or two against a Scott Olsen team, Jake, you've seen it a lot throughout the years. And on the opposite side for Lisbon, because of that willing to want to get the run game going and try to be even Steven or a score ahead, we have seen a little bit Greenlee throw the ball, but it's not like they've been going Central Cass Squirrels throwing the ball with Majo and company there. So is that probably one of your keys entering Saturday for Lisbon to try to pull off the upset? Don't get behind 14-0 early against the Burros, because Coach Scott Olsen, he's seen that a lot in this run the last 4 or 5 years. They understand how to put a team away when they get up by 2 scores early.
Both teams, don't get behind, don't turn the ball over. Avoid penalties. That's your keys.
I like it. Short and sweet and to the point here as we bring Derek back in now. And Derek, as we kind of take a look at the playoff bracket, give me a seed or two that's not seeded. Give me a team or two, I should say, that's not seeded in 11B that you think can make a run to the Dakota Bowl.
I got to stay close to the east with Jake. I know a bit about Harvey-Willis County and a good bit about Central Cass. Central Cass would have been the cream of the crop in that area if it wasn't for Kindred, a buzzsaw that they have to play against in that region. For Central Cass and Harvey-Willis County, I think that's a main focus because whoever wins will play Hillsboro, of course. But those two teams, so similar to each other, played each other tight in the regular season. Central Cass the win over the Burros, and Harvey-Willis County just fallen down by 2 in week 3. I know it's early in the season, and the Burros have been boosted since then. So it's pretty much a flip of a coin for me between the Squirrels and the Hornets. I think the difference maker, the X factor, is Jake Deutsch. If he's fed some dimes that night, I think the Squirrels will come with it. If the Hornets can hinder him in the passing game, the Hornets take it.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun to see what Owen Wiersma can do too. You mentioned Deutsch, though, school record already with receiving touchdowns in a season here for Central Cass. And we mentioned about Central Cass there. The Squirrels do host the Hornets, who lost by a combined 9 points against Hillsboro and Langdon this year in the opening round in Castleton at 1:00 on Saturday. The Squirrels and the Hornets, our own Joel Morgan, had a chance to sit down with Tommy Butler on Central Cass's run to the playoffs.
I'm talking to Tommy Butler, head coach of the Central Cass Squirrels, as they get set to take on Harvey-Wells County. First off, Coach, congratulations on a good season. You guys earned yourself a home playoff game. I'm sure a big deal for you and your players.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, our guys worked really hard to get to this point. Being 8-1 is a tremendous feat, especially with some of the teams that we played. But as far as the playoffs go, yeah, we're really excited to host one. I know our fans, our community have been just exceptional. So being able to have that home crowd is going to be a big help for us.
Let's talk about that one on your schedule and that 8-1 record, week 5, 37-0 to Kindred. I had talked to you the week after that loss, and you said your players everyone buying into the fact that every goal you wanted this season still remained well in front of you. A good learning lesson from your guys, for your guys. What were the big takeaways?
Yeah, it was just that, we talked a lot about growth over outcome. That, yeah, we lost, we got beat. We did some things that uncharacteristically we normally don't do, and when you play a good team, that's what they make you do. But how do we grow from it? How do we get better from it? And I think our guys have really taken that challenge on and said, we're going to do everything that we can to get better every day. Nobody looked at that and was, obviously, yeah, we want to beat our rival, but like we said, everything in front of us wanted, and it was a mindset get better every day. And I think our guys have really taken that challenge on to continuously get better, continuously make adjustments we need to, and get ready for these moments that we're going to have.
You look at your offense, Wiersma, Maggio, and Deutsch. I mean, they stand out, rightfully so. They've had great numbers, but there's a lot of guys in front of them creating openings, creating opportunities. Your players do a nice job blocking and creating those openings. How much do you see them working as a unit on offense?
That is what makes us, it's a full unit. It's, like those other guys get the stats and everything like that, but, we have other receivers that are, they're lunch pail guys, right? They're just going to come in, they're going to work. They're going to get their catches when they're there. But, none of them are, mad that, oh, Jake's got this many yards and I have this many yards, with Frosty Wisniewski and Will Ellison. So, they're the kind of guys that you want, they're selfless. Of course, they obviously want catches. Of course, they want touchdowns, but they're more team guys than anything else. We got a tight end in Ashton Chapesky that you're surrounded by a bunch of studs. Hopefully we can get him some catches, get him going a little bit. But if not, hey, I'm going to do my job. My job sometimes is to block. Sometimes it's to, lead defenders out. And he's just bought into. And then our guys up front are really just a great cohesive unit with Dylan Sell, Nate Burley, Micah Van Hall, Tyler Crochet, and Garrett Haugen. They're just a unique bunch that, is very willing to, if stuff isn't going right, like they're not ones that just stay quiet and to be okay if things are going wrong. They're very much trying to get better every single day. Our offensive line coach, Coach Locke, is, I think, one of the best in the state. And is constantly stresses those things. So, we that whole unit is really, like you said, is really what makes it.
And you look at the defensive side, a lot of those guys, two-way players, playing a lot of football for you on Friday nights. But you guys have done a nice job all season. Your line's keeping your linebackers clean and your corners clean, and they're getting a lot of big plays.
Yeah, we're defensively. Yeah, it's literally it's the same story defensively. It's we're a full unit. There isn't one star on our defense. It's really about playing as a whole group. We've got guys that can mix in on our D line. We can roll up to 6-7 guys that can come in. We guys that have maybe bigger stats, but it's not a one person show. Our big guys up front are the quarterback, but also are, like you said, are running, and they're not always looking for, which is what I really love. Third down, yeah, let's go get them. But on first and second down, sometimes we tell our DNs they got to kick inside when we play our tight front, and you might have to catch a double team every now and again, and of course it always sucks, but they're willing to do it. They're willing to do that stuff. Our DBs are willing to be involved in the run fits. We pride ourselves on our coverage and being able to run some different coverages that not a lot of teams can run. But they're also willing to do the other stuff, which is, again, be in the run fit and make tackles in there. So I'm really pleased with how our defense, our offense really just plays as a cohesive unit.
Harvey Wells County will be your opponent at home, game number 1. They lost last year against Lisbon, a young team. They have gotten older. Their 2 losses this season have been against top 5 programs. What do you know about the Hornets, and what's the key to moving on to the next round of these playoffs?
Hornets are very good, really well coached, tremendous athletes. It's honestly, it's almost like a mirror image of us. They have 3 really good receivers. They have a really good tailback who's just big and physical, and they have a quarterback that can make every throw. He puts the ball anywhere he wants it. Their receivers make contested catches like crazy. They can get their run game going. And then as far as their defense, they're gonna play man to man for the most part, and they're gonna make their athletes. You're gonna have to beat their athletes. They're gonna try to take that challenge on that you can't beat their athletes, and then they're gonna stack 6-7 in the box and try to shut your run game down. So that's definitely a big thing for us. Is can we find ways to beat those, to win those matchups in those one-on-one situations, and then defensively, can we try to take away some of their big plays? Because I think if you can take away their big plays and make them methodically drive down the field, it gets pretty hard. And we've shown, I think, in the past this year that we're really good if we make you drive the field. So we want to try to make teams go, 10, 11, 12 plays to try to beat us.
All right, Coach, thanks for joining us here. Good luck.
Hey, I appreciate it, Joe. Go Squirrels.
Let's go full circle now, guys. In the final, we'll call it our 2-minute warning here. Jake, we'll start with you. You maybe already kind of give your hand. Give me one game to watch this weekend in 11B if you weren't calling the Hillsboro Central Valley Lisbon Bronco game this weekend.
Well, I did tip my hand a little bit. So instead, I'm going to give you 2. I'm going to give you one on the east side, one on the west side. Harvey Wells County, Central Cass. We talked about them. We talked to the coach there. It should be a good one. On the other side, Beulah and Velva Garrison. Beulah going into that Bowman County game, I'm told, really beat up, and they were kind of limping into it. So did they get healthy enough over this last week to take on a pretty good Velva team and come out throughout the season? They've been the number 1 up until last week. And how healthy are they? We don't really know, but let's find out here on Saturday.
Yeah, and to your point, Beulah, their last 2 games, they've given up 30 points on the defensive side per contest. Well, Velva, they've only scored 12 points against Bishop Ryan and alongside Delax Burlington. Who thought that would be a matchup in the opening round out west? Derek, give me an underdog here in 9B. We've been talking about some Cinderellas or darlings, so to speak, in 11B earlier. In 9B, give me a team that's not seeded that could advance another weekend and get to the quarterfinals and maybe, just maybe, make a trek to the Dakota Bowl here in a couple of weeks, Derek.
I've been eyeing St. John High School as of late. They're 6-3. They're playing a good number 5 Nelson County team who's also undefeated at 8-0. But they share a lot of similarities and a lot of common opponents. Now, St. John in the first round of a 20-6 win over 4 wins, a team that Nelson County took care of handily. But these 2 teams played back in week 1, where Nelson County won 14-8. Again, it's the early part of the season. Things can change, but I still believe that St. John High School has that momentum on their side from their first playoff win. They've already been playing. They didn't have to take a week off. As well, these 2 teams going to their playoff push, 14-8 game. They dropped 54 on a good North Prairie squad a few weeks ago, did St. John High School. So they have the offensive momentum. They already have the playoff push on their side. They don't have to take any weeks off, and I think they're ready to go.
How much can the Woodchucks score? We'll find out a little bit later on this week. And gotta love the nickname. Maybe we get that going up against, what was the Lion King? What did you mention again? The Warbirds offense there, Derek. What was it called?
Warthog formation, or we might see the Puma, any type of variation with Tate Jurdy in the backfield.
I like that. Maybe we have to get Jake a little bit. Maybe that's what he's going for Halloween this year. Maybe we're going to get a Lion King. What do you say, Jake?
I haven't been growing out the hair for the mane, so I might have to go with something different.
I can meet Timon.
I'll figure it out and we'll talk next week.
I like it. I like it. Regardless, it's going to be a lot of fun this weekend. We'll have these games for you on your live event coming up on Saturday. Harvey-Wells County at Central Cass, the winner to play the winner of Lisbon at Hillsboro Central Valley for 11B playoff football. Both games on this Saturday at 1 o'clock for kickoff on your live event. On behalf of Derek, Jake, I'm Chase. We'll do this again next weekend as we welcome the 11A and 11AA teams to the postseason on the run to the Dakota Bowl. Thank you for watching our North Dakota football playoff preview presented to you by Halstead Telephone Company, your live event, and R&J Broadcasting.
We'll be right back.